now.
Hello, all, and welcome to the August segment of the L Show, where we are leaning into loving the skin that we are in for the entire month. That's how important this topic is. Thank you for tuning in and either watching or listening to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman. I'm the pharmacist and owner of Rose Pharmacy and Boutique Apothecary here in beautiful Cornelius. Where our focus is on functional medicine. We actually make medications pursuant to a doctor's prescription, but it's specifically for you. We also do many other things, holistic health. We do vitamins and supplements. We do it all. If you want to find out more about Rose Pharmacy, you can always see us on Facebook or Instagram at Rose Pharmacy and Boutique Apothecary, or on the website at roserxboutique.com. So I would like to introduce my co-host, Dr. Georgianna Douglas. And I'm having to look down because I know you. This is one of my best friends. I know you always as Georgianne Georgoulias, right?
With
So,
this big, long
yeah,
Greek last name,
exactly,
which I no
exactly.
longer have.
So Dr. Georgianna Douglas, there it is,
See?
who specializes in Mediterranean health coaching. Well, again, you're going to hear me refer to her as Gigi. So going forward, it's going to be Gigi, but no, we're going to drop all the formalities, and we're just
That's
going to go to
right.
what we know each other as, right?
Yes.
We went to pharmacy school together, and she has been just one of my best friends, and I am so happy to have you here. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
my
I'm
goodness.
very grateful.
So tell us a little bit about your practice.
Yes, I am so excited to be here and to be able to share this with your listeners and with your audience and to be in your presence, Dr. Nicole Eastman, my good friend. So, like you, I am practicing my PHARMD degree in a unique and special way to help patients. The way you're providing compounding and services in a pharmacy, I'm thinking outside the box of traditional pharmacy as well as a Mediterranean health coach. So, what I do is I help busy professionals and parents really incorporate healthy eating Mediterranean style, which comes from my Greek background, into their busy lives. So, those families who don't have much time to prepare a healthy meal for their young kids, for busy professionals who are always on the go and they know that their cholesterol is high and they need to make lifestyle changes and diet changes, but they just don't know how. So that's what I help people do in a total virtual space. And it is a safe and fun environment, kind of like having a healthcare provider in your back pocket, in addition to having your doctor and your specialist healthcare providers. Think of me as your pharmacist, knowledgeable healthcare professional that writes a plan together with you to help you achieve your health goals.
And also something, Gigi, that you just mentioned. When we talk about using our PharmD in a different way, and your approach to really, and we'll talk about this a little later, but using food as medicine, and something
Exactly.
that you're in our current healthcare system. That's not something that we really talk about, or something that we really think about. No one's going to talk to us about it for the most
Right.
part, right?
And for your audience, if they don't know about you and I, Nicole, we have been in retail pharmacy space and large corporate healthcare for 15 years, watching our patients continue to come back and stay medicated. And what we want to do is to help them optimize their health and to help improve their vitality and their longevity. So today we're going to focus on that beautiful skin. And I also want to share a little later a story about how my personal health journey has guided me into this direction of holistic wellness practicing and functional medicine approach. And a couple other things about me before you jump in,
Absolutely.
if you don't
Give
mind.
it to absolutely.
Yeah, just for your audience to know as well, I'm excited to share that. First of all, this is my passion project. So I'm Greek background and I've grown up in 3 generations of Greek women cooking delicious Mediterranean food at home. And I realized that I was very fortunate to have that upbringing. And that's what I bring to my patients and to my clients to help them with what I've learned from my education as a pharmacist and also my upbringing as a Greek woman who loves to eat delicious food. A few things that you can learn more about me if you want to reach out on my website or DM me on my Instagram page. I have an exciting book that I will be co-authoring a chapter in. This book is coming out called Quantum Holistic Healing, Awaken Your Journey. It's coming out on September 12th. And then also I will be launching a functional medicine lab test, HTMA testing, and offering that to my health coaching clients as well. So without further ado, I will pass the mic back over.
So your website, what's your website again?
drgeorgiannedouglas.com.
Perfect. So everybody got that, and we'll mention it again. But if you have a chance to write it down now, please do. Thank you, Gigi.
And we've got some recipes on there. You can reach me on there.
I saw
some
those.
videos. It's fun.
Oh my goodness, it just looks amazing. You are an amazing cook, and your mom is just amazing. So to our listeners, some of the content may not be suitable for all, and the information presented in this show is not intended to replace or keep you from using the advice of your healthcare provider. If you want to tune in or watch to any of our previous shows, you can go to WSICnews.com and click on the L Show under radio shows, and we are there. So we are now starting our series of the month called Loving the Skin That You Are In. And because the skin is the largest organ in our bodies and a major source of detoxification, it's necessary, I think, to dedicate the entire month. It's just so important because we've got to kind of build on the knowledge one to another.
So it's summertime, and our skin is out there.
Exactly. So we're going to take a functional medicine approach, right? To these problematic concerns that we have when we, typically don't think about. We look in the mirror, we see some sort of blemish in our skin, or we see redness, or we see acne, whatever it may be. We're not thinking about, let me think about what could
Cream
be.
Can I top on?
It's always, what are we trying to put on top of it?
Right.
Like, what are we trying to put on top of it? I mean, am I going to change my cleanser? Am I going to use a different one? Am I going to use a cream that doesn't have any sort of scent in it? Those are the things that we're thinking about. We're thinking about topical applications, right? And if it's bad enough, we're going to go to our doctor and ask them to give us something with the expectation that they're going to give us something to put on our skin or something inside of our mouth.
Oh,
right?
But I have so many tips that we can talk about as we go about what you can do.
Yes. And here's the thing. The problem with our traditional approach is that we are not thinking about the root cause. And that is what functional medicine is about.
That's what it is.
It's
not a fancy word. It just means look at the whole body system. And let's start by what is the causing agent, and it's evidence-based attempts to address that issue, that root cause.
Correct. And knowing up front, I think for all of our listeners, knowing up front that if we don't look at the root cause, if we don't get to that root cause, any money that you spend on something topical, it really is a waste.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a bandage because it's gonna flare back up, right? We have to look much deeper. So today we're going to be giving you that down and dirty on how the health of your gut and the status of your hormones affect your skin. And I do have an ask for our viewers and our listeners when we get back from our break. Something that I want you to really to promise me that you're going to take from our conversation today. So when we get back, we're going to continue our discussion with Dr. Douglas, with Gigi, on loving the skin that you're in and how we can help your skin to be at its best. See you when we get back.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Less than 30 days until Kane Center for the Arts' first performance of the 2024 fall season lineup. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing Friday, August 25th. Show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts' 2024 fall season. Buy your tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Have you been to Concert at the Circles? It's a summer series in Davidson. This Saturday, Stella Rising will be playing. The concert will happen in front of Clean Juice on Jeton Street. For more info, visit townofdavidson.org. Davidson's Concerts at the Circles. Want to have a fun time and enjoy some great food with your friends? You're in luck. The Festival of Food Trucks is back. Saturday night from 5 to 8:30 on Broad Street from Center Avenue to Moore Avenue. Come to downtown Mooresville for a fun evening. It gets crowded, so you may want to bring your own chair. The Food Truck Fest, this Saturday, downtown Mooresville. Wish every day of the week has something fun for you? Then it's your week. Huntersville's Week of Fun is happening. Choose a different event every day this week. A couple of the events include water play fun at the Huntersville Athletic Park and a back-to-school bash at Veterans Park. For the full schedule, visit huntersville.org or contact the Huntersville Recreation Superintendent, Lindsay Small. Huntersville's Week of Fun. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on Events to submit your event today.
I'm Nick Rice with your WSIC forecast. As we head through the rest of the afternoon, we see gradually clearing skies with a high of 84 expected. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 67. On Saturday, it's going to be a sunny day and a high near 89 in the afternoon. Saturday night, mostly clear, a low of 68. On Sunday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 89. I'm Nick Rice from WSIC's Weather Center.
Folks, you know it's hot outside. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville and Randy Marion Ford Lincoln. We have got the hot deals to go with the hot temperatures. How about a special lease buyout? Fleet buyout of a 2018, 2019, 2020 Chevrolet Equinoxes and Ford Escapes starting at $11,880. That's right, over 30 in stock, $11,880. You pick the color, pick the one you want, drive it home today. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville right on I-40. Randy Marion Ford Lincoln right on I-77. Come see us today.
Good morning.
Enjoy that morning coffee with Justin Kazepis.
Hope, how we doing this morning?
You know, it was a little rough period there, but I'm getting my happiness back, and you're absolutely helping.
It's Good Morning LKN, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on WSIC.
Welcome back to the L Show. Turn my mic up a little bit. Where we are discussing loving the skin that we are in, and really the effects of, where we're going to discuss the effects of gut health and hormones and the things that those things can occur with what we see in our skin. So now, before we went to break, I was asking a question of our listeners and our viewers. If there is just one thing that you pick up today, one thing that you learn today, I would ask that you figure out how to incorporate into your lifestyle, because that gets you just one step closer to living your best life, right? So we're here to be educational and to give you tools. So my ask is just take one thing that you learn, and there are going to be many things that you're going to get, but one thing, use that, apply it to your life. So yes.
And baby steps. Don't feel like you have to accomplish a lot.
There you go. Now also, because we are super passionate about this subject, typically I don't make this offer, but I will say this. If any of you listening, you have any questions, please feel free to call in to the studio at 1-844-STUDIO-4. We'd love to try to take your question on the air. So let's jump right in to the skin that we are in and how the gut is super important. You know, I don't know if people realize that the gut is composed of trillions and trillions of microorganisms, mainly bacteria, right? They're involved in functions that are critical to our health and our wellness. But in order for your gut to perform at its top peak, right, we need to make sure that we have the correct amount of acid, and we also need to make sure that we have the right proportion of beneficial bacteria to the bad bacteria, along with a diverse group of species, right?
And some people don't realize what those disruptors are. those disruptors could be a number of different things that are really taking that balance in your gut health, in your flora, in your stomach out of control, out of balance. And some of those things that it could be is really unhealthy food. That's number one that comes to mind.
Absolutely.
Exposure to allergens. So not only are you not eating the healthy foods, but are you eating foods that over irritate it? And allergens could be irritating from our environment, from our diet. Those irritants could be dairy, they could be alcohol, they could be other medications. And this is something very near and dear to my heart as someone with a lot of experience working in a dispensing pharmacy, watching patients pick up medications. And then I use this term that I've learned from another fellow pharmacist, a pill for every ill. So, okay, you are on a lot of medicines. A lot of older adults get dry mouth from the pill burden. And so what does the doctor do? Add another pill to treat the dry mouth from the pills.
Right.
Or, for example, Nicole, you know, how many people come for an antibiotic
and
end up getting
a yeast infection, right?
Exactly.
Like literally, I remember that being like one of my issues. So when I was practicing on the bench, you know, a while ago, and we'd get that prescription in for you know, the antibiotic that we use to treat a UTI, right? I would go ahead and just call the doctor and say, hey, let's go ahead and just add on, you know, that diflucan because we know that the patient is going to get a yeast infection, right? So how do we deal with that? I mean, and so if we could really give people other ways to be prepared for it, right? That would be better than that pill for every ill, right?
Exactly. And that's something that we as a population need to be an advocate for our own health. And we need to be asking our healthcare providers the right questions. So in that scenario, okay, you have an infection, you need an antibiotic. We have amazing medicine to help treat things like infection, but we can also minimize those side effects like that nasty yeast infection that no one wants to go through with what food we're eating while we're on that antibiotic. So that's something that I often help my clients with is making choices like a healthy Greek yogurt that has acidophilus and other probiotics built into the food. And those are the types of things that, again, like we touched on some of the gaps in healthcare system, it's hard to get that message across when you're in a go from the doctor to the pharmacy, pick up the med and go home.
Right.
With my health clients, that's something we have time to really dig down into what we can do to eat. And so those are some tips that I give. And Greek yogurt, of course, near and dear to my heart.
Yes, of course, of course. So, you know, but I want to make sure that we do make the point that so we have that good bacteria, but there's also the issue of acid. You need the good bacteria and you also need acid in order for your gut to perform appropriately.
In a balance, because acid could also have a lot of negative connotation like acid reflux, but we're talking about
just being able, the acid that's required to break down your food, the acids that's required to allow certain minerals to be absorbed, right? So that's why when we think about, you know, gut health, we're thinking about that flora, that bacterial population, but we're also thinking about the acidity of that environment in order to make sure that we're getting what we need. So one thing I want to ask you, is there a food that you would suggest that could help people with like stomach acid or maybe a behavior? I mean, where would you
Where
go
my
with that?
mind goes with that question is let's talk about what to avoid. So foods that we want to avoid that would flare up would be like greasy fried foods, a lot of food that has extra spices that would irritate the lining of the stomach and cause irritation, causes inflammation. So looking at if we're having a flare up, to treat it with a more bland diet until we can get back to a state where we're not feeling so many symptoms just by eating less spicy, less fried, and processed foods.
Darn it. fried foods, you know, we love that McDonald's French fry. But,
and on that note too, behaviors in addition to food. So
yes.
not just the foods that you're eating, but the time of day that you're eating them. So if we're eating very, very late at night and going right to bed, that's also going to cause irritation.
Right.
Or if we are eating them in a rush and not allowing our body to digest appropriately, tweaking those little behaviors of not just what you're eating, but how you're eating it.
Yeah, I got to think about that. The midnight run to,
Listen, we all have
I know,
areas
my
to
gosh.
work on.
I know. So I love just hearing like facts, and you and I talked about like some fun facts.
Don't you
right?
always have some
I
fun facts in your
know,
back pocket,
yes,
Nicole?
I
She's had
do.
these since pharmacy school,
Yes,
just
yeah.
always studying. Okay,
I know.
give me some fun facts about
So
this gut skin.
yes, so did you know that your gut is more metabolically active than your liver?
I've always thought of the liver as the powerhouse.
I mean, the liver is important, but from a metabolic process
Mm-hmm.
perspective, your gut is much greater. Did
Maybe
we?
because of all the surface area and how much
Yeah.
lining there is.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. Yes. And then people may not know this: 80% of your immune system is housed in your gut.
That is so important for health, for preventing that little
Yep.
common cold. Let's start thinking about our gut and
Mm-hmm.
food that we put in there.
Also, 90% of your serotonin is made in your gut, and that's the happy neurotransmitter, right?
So those little chemicals floating around in
Yeah,
our brains.
yeah. So we're not going to really get into this today. I think we'll save that one for another episode. But when we think about different interactions between our gut and other organs, the brain is one of those organs, right? So depression and things like that have been
Right.
linked to the gut.
Right.
Just putting that out there. Also, people may not know about certain vitamins, right? Like biotin and your B vitamins are made in the gut. Vitamin K are made in the gut. So when we think about how, the gut has all of these processes, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that when we're talking about the immune system, we got to understand that the gut is a absolute regulator of our immune responses. And really, for the sake of oversimplification, because I don't want to get too in the weeds, but the gut basically tells the skin how to react. It's saying, hey, you need to react this way when you're exposed to a certain condition, which is fine because the gut is our protector, right? It's our protector. But the issue is when the gut is no longer able to function properly, which can lead the gut to telling our skin to overreact. And therein lies the issue. Overreaction is inflammatory.
Right.
And inflammatory skin diseases such as rosacea, eczema, also known as atopic dermatitis, acne, psoriasis, dandruff, these are all inflammatory conditions. They're all inflammatory. And on top of that, an unhealthy gut can lead to the gut bacteria actually getting into your bloodstream. And if it gets into the bloodstream, and it can accumulate in the skin, and then that messes with our skin's integrity.
And sometimes, Nicole, sometimes we neglect things that are going on in our body, like we know it's happening, but we just don't do it. But when it pops out on our skin and you step out into the real world and people see it like a big pimple on your face.
I know.
Then that's your body is talking to you.
And what do you do? I mean, we have got to think, we've got to start training ourselves again. What are you learning from this? We got to start training ourselves to think about, okay, let me think about how I'm treating my gut. And I probably need to get my gut in shape, and that's going to help me to be better from a skin perspective.
And have that glowing look
and
that we want.
And have the glowing look that we want, which you always have.
And
Georgianna,
so
you've always been such a healthy eater. It's just, I've always admired that. I'm like, I'm just the girl who's just going to go and be easy. But you were like, listen, no, we're intentional about what we're putting in our bodies. Yes, exactly. So you're going to come and help me at my house.
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Let's do it.
All right, so when we get back from our break, we are going to continue our discussion with Gigi around our gut health and how it is impacting our skin health. See you as soon as we're back.
Local news and weather now on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. News, talk, now.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. Ben Gibson at Statesville.com is reporting that there was a heavy police presence at Troutman's ESC Park on Tuesday night, but it was all in good fun as the community celebrated the annual National Night Out. Troutman police officer Josh Watson said that he was glad to have officers and the public enjoying time together in a setting like this. And an illegally overheight vehicle struck and damaged a bridge in Dunn, the NCDOT reported. DOT crews closed the Pope Road Bridge over I-95 in Dunn after it was struck. The department said the vehicle was going north at the time. A spokesperson told WNCN the vehicle hit the bridge without stopping. The vehicle and driver are unknown. Now with a look at sports, here's WSIC Sports Director Joe Berg.
The NFL returned last night as the Browns beat the Jets 21-16 in the Hall of Fame game. Also, Charlotte FC took down Cruz Azul in penalties in the round of 32 in the League's Cup.
WSIC weather, mostly cloudy today, an isolated shower or thunderstorm in the evening. Today's high 80. Partly cloudy overnight with a low of 67. Sunshine returns for Saturday with a high of 87. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Freshness made easy with Febreze Small Spaces.
Want continuous freshness that fights odors with no batteries and no outlets? Try Febreze Small Spaces. Ah, but what's a small space? To answer that, we brought in our lawyer.
Small spaces include, but are not limited to, bathrooms, closets, laundry room, kid room, pet corners, man cave, she sheds, most nooks, and all crannies.
There you go. Febreze Small Spaces is the world's most convenient. Febreze Small Spaces is super convenient and never stops freshening for 45 days.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
Call 844-TAX-LAWS. 844-TAX-LAWS. 844-TA.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
Go beyond the headlines. WSIC News Talk Now. Be a part of the conversation.
I listen on the way to work.
Have your say.
It's more than just opinions. It's facts.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Welcome back to the Elle Show, where we're discussing loving the skin that we're in and the effects of our guts and hormones on the skin. I am your host, Dr. Nicole Roseborough Eastman. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Georgianna Douglas. Let's just jump right back in where we left off.
And I have a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. So, what are some of those most common symptoms of an unhealthy gut? What does it look like?
Well, I'm sure that people know it, but they just don't verbalize it. So,
Okay.
like, we're thinking about constant indigestion, right? So, burping, flatulence, feeling really full, even when they haven't really eaten a lot. Poor sleep as well is one of those
Right.
things that are symptoms. Also, abdominal pain. People who, move their bowels less than once a day. Um, feeling better if you don't eat. So, as soon as you put something in your mouth, it's painful for you to swallow, or it's painful once it gets in your stomach. That is a
That's
common.
so unlucky because I love eating.
I know, right? Yeah,
if
fix
it was,
that.
If it was painful to eat.
Yes, exactly.
Oh gosh, we got to help you fix
I know,
this.
exactly. But the theme of today, one of the most common symptoms is inflammation in your skin. So, all the pimples and the flushing and the rashes, all of those things are a direct reflection of what's going on in our gut. So that is one of the most common symptoms. But while we were in pharmacy school, Gigi, I want to get to this. While we were in pharmacy school, you used to cook for us. Your mom, I love her. She used to cook for us as well. And the food was always so delicious. So when you say a Mediterranean diet, I don't know, I kind of go back from that because a diet to me has a negative connotation to it.
Well,
exactly. This is like, it's delicious. Like, it's not a diet. Right?
It's not a diet. I like to really tweak the words and say a Mediterranean way of eating or a Mediterranean lifestyle. It really is not just the food that you're eating, but moderation, variety, eating in conjunction with friends and family, being happy while you're eating. And those are the pillars of the Mediterranean diet. So, some of the things that come to mind with Mediterranean food, of course, is olive oil and tomatoes and vegetables, very vegetable and fruit forward.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the cooking that we did in pharmacy school.
So let's talk about the coaching that you do with your clients.
Yes.
So when you're discussing the skin that they're in, like, what are some of the things that you like to go through?
Oh, yes. So I have a fun activity that I do, if you don't mind.
Yes, okay.
Your listeners might enjoy this because you can do it over the air. I call this a little bit of a visualization. And this is nothing woo-woo. It's just something maybe to help you achieve goals. So just take a moment, get comfortable where you are, think about, in your mind, picture a beautiful, let's say a beautiful woman, maybe an actress that you know in her 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s.
Let's go to Renee Russo, but go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
So what does Renee Russo look like? Or I think of also Helen Mirren. She's a British actress, beautiful white hair, beautiful skin. Visualize that skin and think about yourself there when you're 70, 80 plus. And how do you get there? Well, it's like investing in your 401k. You have to start right now. So healthcare, in what Dr. Nicole Eastman and I have been talking about, preventative medicine is start those steps right now so that you can achieve that beautiful woman visualization by starting now with preventing decline in health, and that will prevent the wrinkles in your skin.
Yes, which leads us actually to the next topic, and that's around hormones. So we've discussed the gut and what that looks like with your skin. But now we got to talk about bringing those hormonal influences, because you can't talk about one without the other. There are hormones inside of your gut.
Body system.
Right. So we know that as we age, we've talked about this every show basically that I've had. As we age, our ability to make beneficial hormones starts to decline, especially estrogen, right? And estrogen has just so many beneficial roles in our body. So when we start to lose estrogen, what happens is that, you lose your skin's elasticity. You look dull.
Right.
You wrinkle. It seems like there's nothing that you can do to bring back the vibrancy, right? It helps with your skin's thickness. So when you start to lose estrogen, then that's what's going to happen to your skin. So correcting that hormonal imbalance is very, very important. Testosterone, we've talked about that too. Testosterone has always been thought about as a male hormone, but it has its benefits in women. We own that too. And testosterone actually helps with preventing the skin from sagging.
Mm-hmm.
So, honestly, the takeaway here is that when we have an issue with our skin, we want to look at what could it be? What are those root cause things that could be happening? Our gut and the status of our hormones, right?
Exactly.
Especially those inflammatory ones, right?
And you have a special knowledge space around hormones in your pharmacy. Tell us a little bit about what you do there with hormones.
That is a major part of what we do every day, and that's hormonal balance. I'm working with practitioners, and we are talking through what we're going to do for this client, or what we're going to do for that client based upon what they're presenting with.
Precision medicine,
It is
specific
precision.
to the patient.
Exactly. So that is really what it's all about. And so when we're thinking about our skin, when we have a prescription for some medication for our skin, we are also having those conversations
It's
around.
not just a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we make this specific for you? And also, how do we look at these other pieces that we can help synergistically work for you? Right?
That's what Rose Pharmacy and Boutique Apothecary can do for you.
There is your little plug. You're so sweet. Okay, so we spend a lot of money on supplements. We spend a lot of money on vitamins, and we're trying to make that claim for people that doesn't matter how much money you spend, if your gut is not correct, it is not going to work. So I want you to go ahead and I want you to jump right in. I mean, I want you to tell us how you use food as medicine.
Yes. And on that note of supplements and spending so much money, if there's not the right balance of supplements, then you can overdo it with supplements. And when we say pill burden is a common terminology that we use in our pharmacy practice, too many pills, literally, that you're swallowing all day long, that could be prescription pills and supplement pills. So we need that healthy gut so that we're not having to depend on too many supplements. And if you don't have the right dosing of supplements, you're literally just peeing it right out.
Exactly. Right.
Yes. And it's not doing its job if your gut
Exactly.
is not a nutrient-rich environment to do the absorption to allow it to give you the health benefits. So, Mediterranean connection to my recommendations are my favorite ingredient, olive oil. So rich in omega-3 fatty acids, the right type of fatty acids, and nuts, dried nuts like Dr. Eastman loves some cashews.
Cashews.
And
Those
I
are
love
my
some
things.
almonds and walnuts, and they can
Yes.
help reduce inflammation. So those are natural anti-inflammatories, and they support the skin elasticity. So these are some tips that I give my clients too. Plan your snacks and put some dry nuts in there for healthy snacking throughout the day, so you're not eating something that you just grab and probably wasn't the best snack. Consuming that olive oil, which is a monosaturated fat with polyphenols, that can contribute to smoother and more hydrated skin. Literally drinking the olive oil or rubbing it on the skin has health benefits.
Yes.
Antioxidants that are found in fruits, and again, Mediterranean diet is heavy in fruits and vegetables and herbs, protecting the skin with those herbs, protecting it from those free radicals that come from our environmental factors. Those free radicals can cause signs of aging. So we want to reduce those and support our healthy complexion. Lastly, the Mediterranean diet focuses on lean proteins such as fish, poultry, and can provide amino acids necessary for the collagen production in our skin, which is essential for maintaining that structure and elasticity we're talking about.
So bad gut equals what? Just really expensive, healthy foods that we're not even being able to use.
We can treat it with food as medicine.
There you go. So guys, when we talk about how we're going to attack your gut, and when I say attack in a good way, attack your gut to help you get to where you need to get to, food is a huge piece of this. And when we get back, we will continue this discussion with Dr. Douglas on loving the skin you're in.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Less than 30 days until Kane Center for the Arts' first performance of the 2024 fall season lineup. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing Friday, August 25th. Show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts' 2024 fall season. Buy your tickets now at canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Have you been to Concert at the Circles? It's a summer series in Davidson. This Saturday, Stella Rising will be playing. The concert will happen in front of Clean Juice on Jeton Street. For more info, visit townofdavidson.org. Davidson's Concerts at the Circles. Want to have a fun time and enjoy some great food with your friends? You're in luck. The Festival of Food Trucks is back. Saturday night from 5 to 8:30 on Broad Street from Center Avenue to Moore Avenue. Come to downtown Mooresville for a fun evening. It gets crowded, so you may want to bring your own chair. The Food Truck Fest, this Saturday, downtown Mooresville. Wish every day of the week has something fun for you? Then it's your week. Huntersville's Week of Fun is happening. Choose a different event every day this week. A couple of the events include water play fun at the Huntersville Athletic Park and a back-to-school bash at Veterans Park. For the full schedule, visit huntersville.org or contact the Huntersville Recreation Superintendent, Lindsay Small. Huntersville's Week of Fun. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on Events to submit your event today.
I'm Nick Rice with your WSIC forecast. As we head through the rest of the afternoon, we see gradually clearing skies with a high of 84 expected. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 67. On Saturday, it's going to be a sunny day and a high near 89 in the afternoon. Saturday night, mostly clear, a low of 68. On Sunday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 89. I'm Nick Rice from WSIC's Weather Center.
If it touches your family, your schools, your city, or your safety, News Talk WSIC has it covered.
Grub Ferry Road near the intersection at Hollywood Drive will be closed while...
News Talk WSIC.
Welcome back to the L Show, where we are discussing loving the skin that we are in and the effect that our gut health and our hormones can have on it. So I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman, and I'm here with my girl, Dr. Georgianna Douglas. Thank you again for being here.
Of course.
So let's just jump right into when we're thinking about these skin conditions, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, people may ask something about genetics, right?
Right.
So, I mean, is there a genetic component to it?
Is there a genetic component to the skin? Because we talk about genetic components to behavior, to, you know, other things, other health challenges that we have. But what about our skin?
I mean, there are. I mean, there is a genetic component. But just like with everything, this is an analogy that I like to use, or a metaphor that I like to use.
Okay.
Your genetics are the loaded gun. Your behaviors pull the trigger. So if you know, if you are having issues with acne, right, then we want to try to avoid the things that can cause an acne outbreak, right? So greasy foods or whatever else it may be. So yes, there is absolutely that component, but really it's our behaviors that drive, that really in these situations, it's our behaviors that drive it.
Which is like so many things in healthcare. We're not doomed because of our genetics.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
With chronic care management, we hear so many people say, "Oh, high cholesterol runs in my family, so I'm going to be on this statin
exactly.
forever."
Like they're
you're
just
not
relegated
doomed.
to it. No,
right.
you're not.
It's our behavior. So,
You're
like you're
not.
saying, that loaded gun, but what we do with it.
Exactly. So let's just, you know, as for the sake of time, because we could talk about this for hours.
Oh, yes, we
for
could.
hours. But for the sake of time, I want to go into really what the treatment approach looks like whenever we are thinking about, you know, our skin. So we think about removal. We want to remove things that we don't need, remove things that don't belong. So whether or not it be a bacteria, whether or not it be an allergen, you know, gluten or anything of that nature, right? A medication, such as like a PPI. If it's safe to remove, and when I say a PPI, that means a proton pump inhibitor,
Right,
which
like
is like
your
Protonix,
Nexium,
Nexium, things like that.
omeprazole,
Right,
yeah,
right.
your
Or
Prilosec.
even antacids, right? And then we want to replace what you have lost. So in certain cases, like for instance, with rosacea is typically associated with the issues with the gut, but particularly low digestive enzymes. So we want to replace digestive enzymes. And so we do removal, we replace, and then we want to repopulate. And we repopulate with things like the good bacteria, right, with probiotics and prebiotics. So that is the treatment approach when we are looking at these inflammatory processes, whether or not it be rosacea, whether or not it be eczema, whether or not it be acne. And in acne's case, we also look at that hormonal component too, because typically there is that piece going on as well. So we look at how can we handle that to affect your skin in acne. So that's just a very quick fly through, just because again, we could talk about this all day, but honestly, like we want to make sure that we get you guys the information that you need. So treatment. What are some of the more healthy options that we have for treatment?
I would like to weigh in on this one and say variety of what we're eating is a big way that we can add good bacteria. We can treat the gut. And that's definitely one of the things that, you know, how we were saying Mediterranean diet is not a diet, even though it's one of the most easy to follow diets prescribed by cardiologists, really, for heart health and inflammation. The variety that you're getting from the colors of the rainbow in your vegetables and your fruit are giving you the things that you need to treat your gut just by eating variety and in moderation. So, I mean, I can't give up my chocolate and red wine, and those might be irritants of the gut. Like we said, alcohol and chocolate can irritate, but in moderation, you can have a little bit.
Right. Exactly. What's wrong with just a little bit?
As long as you go for a walk afterwards, stay healthy and active, all of these things. So we're not saying to deprive yourself when we're saying remove the irritants from the gut. It's just being mindful in eating. And I do have a little mindful eating exercise.
Okay, let's run through it.
This is fun. I'll make it quick. This is something I do with my clients when they come for a coaching. So I'll just go do a brief overview. Did you know that when you first eat something, digestion starts in the saliva in your mouth?
Yep.
That's where it starts. So mindful eating exercise means to really slow down and to chew the food. How many times do you think you should be chewing your bite before you swallow it?
Okay, I heard just the other day it should be 20 times per bite you should be chewing.
How do you think that feels?
I don't even know. I mean, I just feel like I'm just a cow. That's what I feel like, you know.
That is
but
hard to do.
Yes,
So
yes.
really slowing down, not just slowing down our chewing, but tasting the flavors, tasting the how does it feel? Is it crunchy? Is it soft? Is it smooth? And then eating where you're focused on the food and not eating while you're distracted by something on a screen or eating in a rush on our lunch break. So all of those things can help our digestion and help our gut.
I love
And then
that.
it will help your skin.
Right. Exactly. Who knew? Who knew? I think everybody at this point knows that that is where we're going. We want healthy food. We want to make sure we're getting our prebiotics, our probiotics. There are a number of supplements out there. If you're not going to, if you need to get it some way, right, and you don't have an option to look for some food and you just like you need to have something on you, I'm just saying supplements are absolutely something that we look into. Of course, I believe in supplements because I sell supplements, right? But of course, we want a probiotic that's going to be giving you the prebiotic as well. And I think that's another topic that we can go into, of course.
It's a big
time.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just remembering that ultimately we want that good population of bacteria. We want the behavior of chewing your food so that it gets through, it gets digested, and then we want to make sure that when it does get to your stomach, where it's supposed to be, that you have enough acid there to actually absorb. I'll say this too. One thing that I do notice, a lot of people come in and they talk about, okay, they're on an antacid, they're on some sort of antacid, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that Antacids, while they are okay, Protonics or Nexium, those proton pump inhibitors, those sorts of medications, while they are okay, they're not supposed to be used for long term unless there is some sort of mechanical reason that you should be on it. But they're not supposed to be used for long term because it's stopping the acid. And remember what we just said, we need the acid in order to properly digest our food.
And this is something that I talk about too with clients, is that we're not telling you to stop taking what you're taking. We want you to follow the advice of your medical professionals, but what's your game plan on it? Is the game plan just to keep going back to the pharmacy and getting the refill and not changing your habits? If that's what you want, that's fine. If you're looking for more, if you want to not be on those medications, if you see yourself when you visualize this beautiful person in your later years, that you're not just living to take pills and go to doctor's appointments, but you're living with vitality, these are steps that Dr. Eastman and I are recommending to fix that gut now with preventative measures.
With preventative measures. And honestly, if people are nervous about how to start, that's where your pharmacists really are great, knowledgeable partner opportunities for you. I know that you may go into a retail store and they don't have as much time, but just know that there are still some tidbits that you can get from them that can help you to make better decisions.
And there are two pharmacists right here who could spend a lot of quality time with you to help you achieve your health goals.
That is correct. So before we continue, and I don't think we have a whole lot of time left, but before we continue, I like something that you said, and I want you to kind of repeat it. So when we're thinking about things that we're going to do to fix what's going on, we're thinking about adding things. What can we add? What can we add? But you talk about removal.
Yes, let's talk about rule out therapy. Just continue to add the vegetables and the lean meats, but pull out processed foods. And this is something that the Mediterranean diet is so encompassing. The only things that you can't have are things that, processed foods, packaged foods, preservatives, and things that are not safe. I think about shopping in a grocery store around the perimeter and the produce section and not the pantry items in the middle.
Well, guys, we can talk about this all day. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in to this week's segment. And again, I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman, and thank you, Georgianne, for being here with us.
Thank you, Nicole,
you
for
have
this
your very
opportunity.
own virtual Mediterranean health coach. If you missed any part of the show, you can go to WSIC News on Facebook. You can watch and listen and replay episodes. You can also go to the website. And we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback and encourage any topic ideas that you may have. And also calling into the studio, 1-844-STUDIO-4. To find out more about me and my store, you can visit me on Instagram, Facebook, or my website at roserxboutique.com. And again, we want you to also reach out to Dr. Georgianna Douglas at www.drgeorgiannedouglas.com. And she is also on LinkedIn as Dr. Georgianna Douglas. Again, guys, it is so important that you take what we have said today and try to figure out how you can use it in your life. What sort of things can we augment? What sort of things can we remove? When we think about just the delicious food, go to her website. People go to her website because it really does make you salivate, and you're not thinking about this being healthy. You think about this being a treat, but it really is just super, super, super healthy. So thank you for all of that. And you do demonstrations too, right?
I do a cooking demo at the Cotswold Farmers Market every third weekend. And I'm here just, to help guide people along the way. So if you need help, you can DM me on Instagram.
Okay.
And Dr. Nicole Eastman, thank you. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you. Ladies, remember to block off that 3 to 4 p.m. time slot every Friday for the Elle Show, because I want this to be our end of the week happy hour. Thank you to our listeners, and I cannot wait to see you guys next week. We have so many good things to talk about this entire month.
The new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC, Statesville, W290DK, Mooresville, Lake Norman, North Charlotte.